Section 8 clients. Do you get like a list of people?
My name is Aline, and I just recently...
Okay.
So think about your workflow. Again,
I don't know how to do it.
I know how to do it, and I'm trying to instruct other people to do better in their business, but I also have to do better in my business.
Hey, everyone out there in YouTube land and our private Facebook group, Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group. Hope everyone is having a great day. Here in Michigan, we went from 60 degrees last week to 30 degrees today. It's crazy. So I want that 60-degree weather back. Anyways, today I have joining with me John Wolding. He is a lender, a hard money lender, as well as he is with Unstoppable Funding, as well as he went from being homeless to getting into real estate and doing what he's doing now. So we're going to get the backstory on how did you go homeless? And so we don't prevent that. So we don't do that. And how did you get to where you are at so we can get there? So anybody who's out there, leave a comment. We'll answer them live. You are live right now. If you are watching the replay, still leave a comment in the chat so that I will definitely get back to you after that. Without further ado, John, how you doing today?
Doing real good, Randy. I'm really happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Awesome. So I'm really glad that you're able to come on the show today, and I really do appreciate it. It was kind of last minute notice. All my gather last minute notice, unfortunately. Time always gets away from me. So
if it's more than a couple of days, that's like eons for me. I mean, everything I do is like under the gun, urgent.
Yeah. So you're with Unstoppable Funding, okay? And we'll get to kind of like what you do now and kind of going through there. But what I'd really like to do is kind of get a sense of how you got there and how, first off, what made you homeless? Give me your backstory a little bit. And then how did you rise from that?
All right. Well, I'm going to get into that. I want to say, first of all, how I got there is a little bit uncomfortable. It's embarrassing to share, but
no judgment here. No judgment.
But I'm going to let you know. So I'd been in mortgages for quite a while, and I climbed the ladder. I was really close as far as like production and the number of employees I had. One of the really pretty far up the chain. What I was doing, and this was in the early 2000s, as you know. Around the mid 2000s, we had the housing crash and the banking crash and so forth. I was in a position when that began where we had net branches and I had personal liability. So for those who don't know, that's really close to being like a franchise. And so I was personally responsible for this long leases and so forth. That said, that really wasn't the full reason. I went through a number of other things and I made bad decisions, I was going through some emotional things. I was going through a breakup, a painful divorce. And rather than making some of the right decisions, I kind of like, oh, well, I'm not going to deal with that right now. And kind of like ignored this giant thing that was coming. And it's sort of like a temporary insanity thing. And where you just let go of the wheel. And by the time I realized what I was doing and came back, it was really too late. And that's really one of the lessons I learned along the way to prevent things is that as you come down, your choices and your options change and they diminish. And if you don't make the right moves if you make wrong choices adding up over and over and over again, they kind of snowball. And then they become this like impossible weight and this that you can't even see your way out of. Coupled with that, later on, I got in a very serious relationship, and she ended up getting cancer, and I tried to
Sorry to hear that.
keep her going. She had leukemia, and I was starting to make a comeback after all that, and really needed help. And my father at the time, I mean, still my father, but at the time he was like, okay, I needed help, and he knew it. So I went there and I started to do work with him. But she just had so many problems. She went up north, and then I got this call that she was, she said, hey, it's getting really bad. You need to come up here. I really didn't have hardly any money at that point.
All this was taking place here in Michigan.
This was in, so I'd gone to Florida where my father lived at the time.
Okay.
Still does, but I came to Florida, and her doctors are in Michigan. And so she had gone up to Michigan for about 2 or 3 months, and I was sending the money that I could make up to her, and got this call that, okay, this looks really serious. You need to come up here. So I packed up the minivan we had and started driving. Now, I want to let you know that I had a lot of other problems on top of this. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I was financially, I owed like $1 million to the IRS. I owed,
Oh my God.
I had all these other things. I also had a suspended license for unpaid tickets, all kinds of stuff. And so I'm driving up on the suspended license to Michigan with this van that's overloaded with all our stuff. The transmission goes out. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia, not knowing a soul.
Yeah.
I met this guy at Cracker Barrel. He took me in.
And just real quick, what, for timing's sake, around what year back was this?
That was 2012,
Okay.
2011, 2012, beginning of 2012. And so I got, and so I ended up being stranded in Georgia for 2 months, working for a really incredible man, Chris Pilatos. And I stayed in his house, and he gave me work, and I slept on his floor. I made $10 an hour or something like that.
Yeah.
And, I had a place to sleep, but I had to send all the money to her because she needed it for doctors and all that kind of stuff. Finally, I was able to make it back to Michigan, and I made it the day after she passed away. When I got there, I had nothing but a bag of clothes, and I had to. Someone took me in for a couple of days on their couch. I had different other kinds of problems that I felt I had to get out of there because it was a really, really bad environment. And so I wasn't homeless for a real long period of time, Randy. Just it sounds sensational, and it's really,
no, it's good.
But I slept on the side of like Heinz Park for about 15 to 17 days, right about there.
Hey, doing it for one day is eye-opening. I'm going to tell you that right now. So,
And then there were so many stages to get out of that,
Yeah.
And, so what I learned from this, and this is why I call it Unstoppable Funding, because what I learned from this is that getting out of these situations, when it sucks. You have to work really hard, and you got to just suck it up. And it happens. Sometimes it doesn't happen all at once, but you can't ever lose faith. You got to just keep going, keep adjusting, and doing things. And just like the bad decisions accumulated to cause my ruin, good decisions eventually started to lead to other opportunities, that led to other opportunities, that led to other opportunities. And the biggest thing I found was you need people, you need networks, you need others to help you. So many people helped me in little ways or small ways along the way that most of them I didn't know beforehand a lot. And I did exclude myself, Randy, because I was very embarrassed, because and I didn't reach out to a lot of the people that I'm sure probably would have given me more help. And then after, and also people tend to make all these judgments when you get in those situations. Like they assume that, well, you're doing drugs, you're on, you're doing alcohol, you're doing all these other things. And so the help just dries up. Like, I had friends that, I had some pretty affluent friends, and we would go out and it'd be nothing for them to throw me $1,500. And then, I'd go to pay them back. I don't worry about it, But when I had this kind of situation this bad, a lot of the same people were like, I can't help you, and it was, and so one of the things that's really important to me with what I do is what inspired me to keep going, Randy, was that I kept telling myself that someday somebody's going to look at what I did and they're going to say, well, if you can do it, I can get through it too, and I can make it. And so everything I've done and set up is to take that person that has nothing and show them a way that they can succeed and actually make it.
Most definitely. And this Taylor Marie, actually, from the Facebook group, said a setback is a lesson learned, just like you did. Don't beat yourself up. Trials, tribulations, grow and understand. And she said something else on here that, yes, you need people, but faith is what will guide you to the right people. And I could not agree with you with that advice more. And you just said it too. So
yeah. Amen. And the thing is, sometimes we lose. Sadly, sometimes when bad things happen, we either get faith all of a sudden or we lose it entirely. And I would say at the beginning, I was definitely in that second category. I started to feel definitely. And I had her death. My cousin had really been close to. He passed away, and I remember just being on the street. The first day, and I was just like, God, why, what's going on, and that was when I started to see things, and appreciate, what I did have. And that's the thing that I think a lot of us forget, is that no matter how far down you get, there's always something for us to be thankful for. And
100%. So how did you get from being homeless itself to like that? Everyone, it's that first start, and like, what made you think of, did real estate come in your mind then, or was it a little bit later?
So it did. I was in mortgages, as I mentioned, for and conventional mortgages for quite a long period of time. But you got to remember, I had these gigantic garnishments, from different kinds of things, right? Yeah. And so that was a barrier. So it's very difficult to work in the financial world when you have these type of financial things against you. And I did manage to get some of those positions, but I didn't have any clients. I didn't have any transportation. I mean, these things, it took like 5 or 6 years. So the very first thing, though, in real estate, because I was struggling as a loan officer, but the garnishments were making it so I was only getting like $230 a week from combined from the job. So at one point I was working for a nursing home. And then I was also working for Bank of England, and I was also working for Class Appraisal Company, and I was also working for Comerica Park. So I was working almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and only seeing $230 of that money. And then when the Obama health came out, the way that they did the garnishments, I actually had to pay $100 to work. So I literally had no means to exist. And it was at that point where, it's kind of crazy. It's like I had to figure out, some other path. And so, and up to then, I was still doing it. Like I was walking like almost 5 to 7 miles each way to work. I was walking from Madison Heights to Troy, and then I would go from Troy to Birmingham, and then I would come back to Madison Heights. And I was doing that like every day. And I was considerably more overweight. So that really
all that walking will help you there.
But what it was, though, is that it was like I had these barriers in my mind that I can't do this because I don't have a car. I can't do this because and the truth is that we're all we can get through almost anything It's not, we're not going to like it, but we're going to have
Right.
to do it. And so what really started to make the change though was I knew an individual that he said that he was looking to loan money as a private lender.
Mhm.
And so I thought, well, and so I did a small little advertisement on Craigslist, and I got someone to call me, and and they were an investor, and they came up with this idea that I could go find houses for them to buy to fix and flip. Okay.
Right.
And so you would call that a bird dog, probably, right? And
Yep.
so that's what I started to do. And in that, I started to discover that there are these lenders, other than this private person that I met, that were starting to offer, and it was pretty fledgling then, but they're starting to offer these fix and flip loans where you didn't have to verify income, didn't verify assets,
Mhm.
and they had these kind of crazy math. And so I started out getting into that. And what I discovered, and this didn't all happen instantaneously. This took a little bit of time. It was
Yeah.
but what I started to discover is that there's a whole lot of marketing that people say that, oh, we can do this and we can do that. And, they put everything on one flyer. We have rates at 6%,
Yep.
you got 0 down, and we'll loan 100% of the rehab, and you don't need any income. The problem, what they don't tell you is that all those things are true, but you can't do them all on one loan normally. Okay. You don't get them all together. And so I felt
It's
like
like a one or the other, or yeah.
So I felt like it was just no standardization. I'd come from the world of conforming loans, and I realized, man, this market really needs people that are professional. Because it was like the wild, wild west, man. They would just tell you whatever. They didn't care, because in this type of market, you don't have to disclose.
Yeah.
There's no disclosure required. There's no consumer protection whatsoever. So they just lied their butts off all the time, and they still do. The lenders, when they deal with directly, the lenders in this business do. And so that's why I created this, is because I wanted to create a standard and a platform where people could depend on, go to it. Someone that knows, it's already gone through all the yeses and nos, all the, and take people through in a true, honest way.
So do you lend your own funds, or do you write it for somebody else?
No, we're a broker.
Okay.
But we are a broker that different from like other mortgage companies in that we don't do any consumer loans. So your regular mortgage company typically does not have our products. Like, I'm prohibited from doing consumer loans. Not me personally, but my company, I don't mix them, because
So you only do DSCR loans? Is that right?
Well, DSCR can be offered by conforming loan lenders.
Yep.
But if you are doing a DSCR loan through a non-QM lender, you're still normally held to the standard or bar that a consumer lender is. So there's some crossover. Okay. The difference is that there's no requirement on us to show the ability to repay.
Got it.
Okay. On a consumer loan, you have to show the ability to repay in some kind of way, whether that be stated, whether that be the rent, whether that be bank statements or profit and loss statements. We don't require any of that. Okay. Necessarily. Okay. We do have loans that want that, and you get some different terms, but we can literally do it without any of the above. We can only loan to businesses, though. We can't loan to an individual.
Okay. So that's kind of your distinction is, so that kind of brings me to my next question is, we have in our Facebook group, in our community, we have a lot of new people, whether it be new wholesalers, new investors, people just trying to learn. Okay. And, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on. It was because I wanted to know, hey, if they're trying to do their fix and flips, if they're trying to do their BRRRR strategy, if they're trying to do all of that, the buy and holds with the BRRRRs and things like that, what do they need from you for a beginner who's never done a deal before? What do you recommend they do when they come to you? What do they need?
Well, the first thing that there's several things, Randy. First thing they want to do is have a real clear idea. When they're talking to you about a loan, they want to have a clear idea of the project. So the first thing I teach and say, we qualify the project, not the individual. All right.
Right.
And one of the reasons about this for me, I had so many barriers. I kept being told, no, you can't do that. No, you don't have what it takes. You don't have what it needs. And so everything, I was constantly being told no, if I had somebody who would just help me with my idea. Right. And so I concentrate first on what is the project? How is this going to be a profitable project? That's what I start with. Okay. Then the next part is I started asking them questions to find out what other pieces that they're going to need. Because if you're going to borrow the money from any of the traditional type, I'm going to call them syndicated lenders, there's different buckets. So what I've done is I've set up a whole bunch of different buckets. Okay. And so depending on how they answer the questions, I start to filter them. So can you buy a house with no money down? Yes. Well, that might mean that you need to have a credit score here, or maybe, and if you don't have that, well, then you may need to get a partner into your LLC or start a new LLC and put that person on with you. So you may need to pair up. So the first part is you need to have a clear picture of what you want to do. The next part is you need to have a good understanding of how much money you have to work with, because it can be anywhere from 0 to 25, 30% down, depending on the rest of the story. Okay. And then you want to know who do you feel comfortable working with? Another part is you're going to want to know how is this house going to be? If you're doing a fix and flip, how are you going to do it? How are you going to do the work?
Right.
How are you coming up with it? And then your evaluation. So I actually have a regular training program, Randy. I don't know if you mind if I bring that up. But
I don't mind at all. Yeah, please do.
So every week. And so because of that, I would get those calls, and so many people really had no idea how to get started. A lot of people that work with me don't have any money. I even had a homeless person myself that I've helped. He now is no longer homeless again over the summer. And every Wednesday, so it's every Wednesday at noon, it's Unstoppable Funding University on Facebook. It's Unstoppable Funding University. It's a group. So just search groups, Unstoppable Funding University group.
And I believe we have those links in the description if you're having trouble finding it, by the way. So look in the description. I believe we have those there.
And so every week we have an ongoing class. It covers about probably 10 modules, I would say. Each module is about 1 to 2, 3 weeks long. But we take you through everything, like how to evaluate a property, how to find a property. I started from the standpoint that you don't have anything and you don't have a clue, right?
Yeah.
You don't have any resources. So first thing I do is start teaching how can you make money right now. And so I use the same steps I did. First thing was being a bird dog. And then to do that, you need to know how to evaluate properties and filter.
Yep.
The next thing I did was teach wholesaling, okay? Because that's another thing I did to get me jump started, okay? Then after that, start getting into the fix and flip and all the different buckets that I just described, because every lender is going to have different rules. And this is why you want to go through someone like me as opposed to going straight to the lender. Because when you go straight to the lender, if you don't fit their box, they're going to tell you no. All right. Or you don't go to your regular mortgage company when you want to do flips. Just like if you got brain cancer, your general doctor is not the guy, he's going to refer you to a brain cancer specialist if you want to live, right? Or a surgeon. So I'm very specialized to offer the very best product possible for investing in real estate. So for fix and flips or long-term BRRRRs. So then we go from that, and then we go into the BRRRR method and qualifying for that. And the different avenues. Now, some people, so we have products and they replace the DSCR, Randy, why this is important. So a lot of people today would like to, they want their goal is to fix it up so they can do short-term rentals, right?
Yeah.
There's so much money that can be made, right?
Yep.
With doing short-term rentals is that if you don't have a history of short-term renting on that particular property or your own, well, we can't use that rent to qualify you. Okay.
Right.
So if you're stuck with and a lot of times on the larger loans, the DSCR method, and what that is, guys, for those of you who don't know, DSCR says that the new mortgage payment can't exceed your rent. So the mortgage payment, including your taxes, insurance, and homeowners association dues, cannot exceed your rent or have to be within a certain ratio, either above or below, depending on your LTV. All right. And so, and you'll see that when you get to larger homes, so you start to get to 200, 300, 400, that the long-term rent doesn't seem to support the mortgage anymore, especially where rates are in recent months. Okay. So, so what we do, but the short-term rentals make it make sense for a lot of my clients. You know, I have a guy in Inkster, right? He's got 200 houses in Inkster. He gets $4,000 a month on these houses from short-term rentals. Okay. Which is just ridiculous. These are little 1,000 square foot houses. He's getting an average of $4,000 a month.
Right.
So what we do is we put them into a loan that doesn't use the DSCR math. All right.
Right.
Boom. You're out of it. You fix the house up. So you get into it, Randy, with maybe you put 10% down. All right. To do the fixing. Maybe you're lucky enough to do 0 down. Whatever regard, you're putting 10% down. We fund all of the rehab money, right? Now, now when you go to refinance it, we're going to use the new value. Okay. So you might have paid 100 for it, but now it's worth 200. Maybe 120 because of the money you put into it. We can give you a loan maybe up to 150. So now you got not only the money that you have invested, but you even get some cash back. And I'm able to do that without having to necessarily use the DSCR method. Now you can, if you qualify, you're going to get a better rate. Okay.
Right.
The things that it's there as an option that they may not have otherwise. Now, if you have a great job and you have good income, you're going to be able to still navigate it, but you're going to have more red tape. My loans are meant to be very quick, fast, easy, and I try to make it so everybody can get one.
So I'll give you a scenario that I see a lot, and I'll actually give you a couple different scenarios so that you can tell me what's the best way to, should somebody come to you for this, or should somebody try to figure out if they can work with a family member or try to find somebody who's done it and partner with them. Whatever the case for a fix and flip or a BRRRR, to me, a fix and flip and BRRRR is going to be the same thing. So, first scenario would be if somebody's working their 9 to 5, okay, they have a W-2 income.
Okay.
And they want to buy a fix and flip property. Okay. And they want to just fix and flip it because they know they can make $40,000 later on, whatever the case may be.
Gotcha.
Would you, in that type of, they've never done a deal before. Okay. What would you expect from them if they were to come to you, or would you recommend they try to hit up family, hit up anybody else that they can work with, or anything like that? So would you expect like a 20% down? Would you expect a 10% down? What kind of rates ish? You don't have to get specific, but things like that.
So great question. So first of all, you definitely want to come to us as opposed to a conventional lender. And I'm going to give you, there's so many reasons why it's going to be kind of mind blowing. Okay. So conventional lender, you're trying to do a fix and flip. One, they're going to make you go get actual like bids and estimates. Okay. Forget that. Right. Number two.
So real quick, before we go further, what I'm getting at is they're looking to do, say, a quick, basically a wholesale deal, coming from a wholesale deal, or not either, or it's like an all cash offer type stuff where we have to use a hard money lender, or we have to use family.
Okay. So
who has cash?
Well, if you have family who has cash, man, I mean, that's hard to pass up. I mean, if you've got that golden avenue, but that can cause grief and friction among family members. But
Yes.
I want you to let you know something, okay? We don't ask you if you qualify for the program, and there is a credit parameter that you're going to have to meet. So 660, all right,
Okay.
kind of it for this type of loan. And I have other buckets. So bucket one, which was just last week's class, and I can definitely show you a PowerPoint because I already have it done. So bucket one, if you have a 660, you're going to need 20% down. All right. But remember, and if you're above 720, you only need 10% down, regardless of your experience. Okay. But remember, this program does not ask you where you got the money. You don't know bank statements. You don't show it to me. So you can go borrow it from mom and dad, which they might be more comfortable on a loan. You can borrow it from some dude you met at the bar. You can even get seller seconds, if the seller's open to it. So from that standpoint, you could possibly do a hybrid. But I mean, borrowing from mom and dad and from family is always going to be cheaper as far as actual financially, for sure.
Yeah.
But what we are about is just making it easy to get qualified, get those loans, and close fast. Okay. So that program I can generally close in 10 days or less. If you've been through before, maybe as little as 5 days from start.
Okay. And what do you expect from a new investor? 10, 20%? Like, how much do you, because I know that hard money lenders, they want to see the investor have some sort of cash in the deal,
So they typically, and if you're above 720, and this one does require what I'm going to call an AUS, automated underwriting system response. That's an accept. So 720 and up is 10% down.
Okay.
680 and up is going to be 15%. 680 to 720, and 660 to 680 is going to be 20%.
Got it.
You don't have to have the experience. Now, if you fail this program, then I have to go to other programs, and other lenders may ask you for bank statements or may have additional requirements.
So if you failed that, then it doesn't necessarily mean you're SOL. It just means let's look someplace else and see what else we can find.
And maybe you do need to run out and get a partner, or maybe we need to match you up. And that's one of the reasons why I have the group too, because it creates this environment where they can just reach out to other investors like themselves. And everyone has strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes marrying this up in the right way can create a very strong team to get the job done.
Okay. All right. So that's good to hear that at least somebody can come through who's new. They have a 9-to-5, things like that. You don't really care about where the money's coming from, to be honest. So even if they're self-employed, for as long as you meet that criteria, as far as the credit score, it doesn't matter, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
and that's the same for my long-term rentals too.
Okay.
I mean, there's no reserves. There's no checking your bank account. There's forget about it. It's the easy, it's almost like I tell other loan officers and mortgage companies about it. Mind blown. Just what?
Right.
What?
So just to let you know, you guys, you out there is watching this, may sound like a commercial or anything like that. This is actually stuff I want to know. And I know that people out in my group and in my people, they want to know this. Hey, it may be simple, but every time I see a lender and I try to ask these simple questions, it just depends on the situation and the situation here and this and that, and they never get a straight answer. Like, I seriously have to. I've gone because I've thought about starting doing some fix and flips myself, and I'm like, okay, well, what's your rate? If I find the property, where do you need to be at? Where do I need to be at? ARV, everything, 85%, 75%. What do I have to put in? Things like that. And I just could not get that.
Great. So that was a great one. ARV, guys. So ARV, if you don't know what that is, that's as repaired value. Okay. And so what we do, the reason why you can only be 10% down, and I actually do have lenders that are 0 down. The reason why you can be that is because they're looking at the value of the finished house. Okay.
Yep.
And so we can go up to 75% ARV if you pass this AUS thing.
Okay.
Other than that, you're going to be 70, maybe 65 with most other programs.
Okay.
Of the ARV. And so that means it's, you put that's for us to navigate for you. Most of the people do fit in bucket one. Most of the clients that come to me do fit in bucket one. But
and real quick, do you have a minimum?
Yes, great question. So for bucket one, it's $100,000, not sales price, total loans. We include the rehab as the total loan. For long-term rental loans, which are I'll call them permanent loans. I don't know what else to call them. So the permanent loans, $75,000 for most lenders. I do have others. I can go all the way down to $25,000, but that when you do that, the costs start to get different. The requirements get different because I'm having to go into the lender's office.
So you don't necessarily don't have options, but like the problem we see is that sometimes in Detroit we have the lower cost properties. You know,
I do a lot in Detroit, Randy.
Yeah, so there's you may buy a house for 25 grand, want to put 30 to 40 grand into it, and the ARV is 90 to 100,000.
Absolutely.
So
I started the class because some of you may have heard of the Land Bank team.
Yes.
People are subscribed to it. So Charles Noonan was one of my clients, and so he brought me on as saying, "This is my guy that got me going in London."
Yep.
And so I got deluged with all these people, and he put me in his book too. So so I had all these people calling to do these land bank deals, right? And so for those of you who don't know, I mean, you can buy a house for like $500 land bank, $1,000, $2,000. And the thing is, though, you have in Detroit anyway, you have to fix it, and you have this restricted deed. And so I would try to explain, and so I found myself on the phone literally as long as you and I have been talking, trying to walk somebody all the way through this. And so well, I'm just going to do it all at once in a class. So I kind of created it originally for that, and said, you know what, everybody can benefit from this. And so that's the class. And I'm keeping it free, and it's totally free because for me, when I was getting going, money was a barrier, and I don't want money to be a barrier for people.
No, 100%. I agree with that. So I actually I'm going to be starting the coaching program for wholesaling real estate. And as much as I want to give it away for free, eventually when I get it up and going, I'm in beta test with it with about 6 people at the moment. So just to kind of get my systems going, like I'm literally swinging by the seat of my pants with this. But once I go through this once, it's going to, things are going to come back and not come back. Sorry. My systems and my processes and things like that. So there will be a charge for it because it'll take up some of my time. It will also, as much as I want to learn, teach people, they also don't value as much when they don't pay for it. Unfortunately,
I think that there's some truth to that, and for sure. I mean, Tony Robbins said that first time he tried to do his seminars, he wasn't, they're like really cheap and nobody's coming. And when he put in a bigger price tag, the rooms were filled. And
most definitely,
so I definitely toy with that. We're now just concentrating on giving the value, and we don't teach everything from A to Z on wholesaling. There's a whole lot of gaps. You can't cover that much in an hour, guys.
No.
So it's not, you're not going to watch that and be like an expert wholesaler by any means. You might be lucky, but you're not going to be an expert at it for sure.
And you know what? I'm only teaching what I do, which is cold calling. So there's a bunch of other marketing techniques and stuff, things like that. So it's crazy. But so we'll get back to with, you're talking about your, so that kind of we went through scenario 1, and it kind of leads into scenario 2, which is somebody who has their own business. They're a 1099, but they just don't have a W-2, I'm assuming you'd recommend the same program for them as well.
Oh yeah, we don't even ask if you have a job, Randy.
Right. Okay.
I mean, I don't even have a clue what most of my people do, unless we're just having a good old conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we literally don't get any income information whatsoever.
Wow.
No debt
So
ratio.
have you done some fix and flips yourself?
I have a live project going on right now in Detroit.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Okay.
I completed one just recently, just outside English Village.
Okay.
Recently. What I did with that one is we purchased a home to show the class how to do it.
Yeah.
And I used the same means that I did because everybody could qualify for it.
Got it.
There's
Okay, so with that's awesome. So when you're analyzing a property, hey, it says, oh, it's only going to be $10,000 to fix and flip this house. Like really, a straight carpet paint ain't even going to be 10 grand, So it's kind of going from there and kind of you have experience with all that. And I think that's for new investors, having somebody like you come in is actually a secondary barrier. And what I mean by that is some wholesalers will sell you on the dream. I try to be as realistic as possible, okay, with my numbers. But some people will like, oh no, it's only going to be 20 grand. That's it. And you look at it and you look at the photos, you look at this, and your lender, whoever it is, if they're a good lender and they underwrite the property very well, they are a barrier because they do not want you to lose money. Okay. If you have to come through and say, oh, it's going to be an extra 20 grand, they know that it's got to come out of their pocket because your funding's already set for this.
Yeah. There's safety. There's a certain amount of safety net, there they're having a lender,
Right.
And lenders are going to require a whole lot of things. Like they're going to require that you get a title policy without exceptions. Okay.
Yeah.
And you get a warranty deed, and they're going to, those things are so important. And a lot of times people will fight for the lender to approve it a little bit too much to their own chagrin later on. It's gonna it comes back and they go, oh man, I wish I had, maybe I shouldn't have pressed so hard to do that. And because lenders they are protecting themselves. So if they're saying no, they're protecting you too,
Yes.
in a lot of cases.
Yeah. And as new investors, you need that extra protection. Okay. So anybody can be talked into something in the moment, but you got to come down to the brass tacks. You got to come down to the numbers, and you have to understand what strategy you're going to do. As a wholesaler myself, I have to know all the strategies because I got to know who my end buyer is going to be. And what's funny is that like I've had a property where I know it's a buy and hold investor. Like the numbers don't make sense for a fix and flipper. I get that. So I try to advertise it as buy and hold investor. If you're looking to park your money here and get some cash flow, here you go. That takes away half my buying pool because it's not a fix and flip. I only can deal with what I got at the moment. Sometimes I try to do my best to negotiate as down as much as possible, but I only can do so. I do my best. But I still get people, so I ask them, I'm like, what are you going to do with the property? Oh, we're going to do a fix and flip. Okay. You're going to run your numbers. I know exactly what you're going to be coming up with. Okay. This is for a buy and hold investor, but if you want to run them, go right ahead. I tell everyone do their own due diligence, but I give them a little bit of piece of advice in the beginning. So because I don't want people wasting their time. That's the thing. I get my time wasted a lot, honestly. And I've gotten down to a science where I'll spend 10 minutes with you, no problem. And I'll tell you whether it's a deal or not, or whether it'll go further in. And I need to do a little bit more research, but I can usually, within a few minutes, I can tell whether it's something or not, just because of my experience. So with that, what are you, right now, so we're kind of going to right now what you're doing here with Unstoppable Funding. You have a few programs that you're doing. You're also doing the free classes, which is awesome. By the way, hit the links in the description. I highly recommend anybody learn about what you need to do. And if you're listening right now and you have questions, ask them in the chat. By all means, we'll get to them. I promise you. Okay. Ask the questions in the chat. We'll get to them as quick as possible. But from now, you are, you're working with the private lenders. Now, do you get a lot of business where you can pretty much analyze a deal or anything like that, get somebody approved within a couple of days? Does it take a couple of hours? Like, how long does, say, a pre-approval take for a property?
So for us, the pre-approval, again, is based on the property. I do ask people to give themselves some amount of time to get out, because remember, we can close in like 7 to 10 days, right?
Right.
So generally, if they give themselves 7 or 10 days on a contract to do due diligence, we'll be ready. We'll be almost all done, if we start right at the beginning. So, I mean, we do the approval letters really within about a half an hour of with a person.
And that's awesome to know as a wholesaler, because as a wholesaler, our properties go like this. Okay. And we tell you, when you go under contract, when you're under assignment, okay, I want you to do all your due diligence before you sign that assignment. Okay. So if you're looking to buy the property, I'm not giving you any due diligence time. I'm giving you the time from when you look at the property until you sign the contract. Okay. So you need to know then, that way you can put in your EMD right away. I say you got to put in your EMD within 24 hours. Okay.
So on fix and flips too, not all lenders offer this, but on program 1, if you have that situation, we can literally, because it does go through an automated system.
Yep.
We'll have a decision, and as long as the numbers come in, as far as the values,
yep,
we're good to go. So if
now, do you
work? What happens? So let me explain the process. So the process for us is that they're going to go out and do an inspection of the property, take pictures, and then they're going to compare that with your scope of work. All right, because they're going to give us the scope of work, says it's going to cost this much, and these are all the repairs we're going to do. A construction feasibility person is going to look at that scope of work and say, yep, that's what these pictures say. This is what it looks like. And that's going to be enough money to do the job. All right. Then the two of those get paired together, and then we get a value of what it's going to be like, because they get a composite picture of the two. And so that's the piece, that ARV that we talked about. I'm good at coming up with ARVs, but that's really where somebody needs to spend quite a bit of time learning how to do, but also have their team, like realtors and so forth, to help them get a good idea what that ARV is. And I can tell you, there's some wholesalers that have a radically different idea of what the ARV is and what how lenders can see it. And
in Detroit, it's a very different way of comping. I'm going to tell you that right now. Absolutely. So the CEO, that's his name on YouTube. So it says, telling everyone to limit your homework. So many people are comping blatantly non-deals for homeowners that don't even want to sell and they haven't even spoken to. And that is correct. People, I've gotten so many people, well, what do you think about this property? I go, have you had a conversation? What's the reason for selling? Well, if they just get their price, then it's not a deal. You know? So, and David Ruffin from Facebook says, how does EMD work? So on our end, so earnest money, EMD stands for earnest money deposit. That is when you, as the investor, take whatever amount you agree upon, okay, whether it be $2,500, $1,000, whatever the case may be, and you give it to the title company that's doing the title work. Do not ever give that to the wholesaler, okay? The only way, and I've seen this happen before, is where you give the wholesaler the EMD, and then in turn, basically they're going to give you the contract at the original price, which is fine. Means you've just paid them their fee before you closed. That's all. And as long as you understand that, hey, more power to you. But if you want everything recorded, you give it to the title company, and the title company is everyone who pays out. The EMD goes towards your purchase price on the property. Okay. It'll also, and correct me if I'm wrong, that will also go towards your down payment as well. Is that right?
That's correct. And and I can tell you this, if you do give the money to the wholesaler and you show that you paid that assignment fee, and you can show it. And I mean, sometimes the requirement is as simple as a letter from the person that received it says, I got the money.
Right.
And you give that to the title company. We're going to take that assignment price. So let's say, Randy, let's say your original price is 90 and you're signing it for 105. Okay. The person gives you that 15,000. We're going to use 105 to determine a loan amount. And remember, let's say we did 90% of that. We're going to be able to actually loan that person 90% of 105, not 90% of 90. So, so they're not, so it can make some sense, but they can also put the money down with the title company too. They don't have to give it necessarily straight to the wholesaler. Yeah.
When you're first starting off, I always recommend it's in safety. Give it to the title company. Okay. Don't, unless you've worked with the wholesaler multiple times and you've gotten some trust with them, go straight to the title company. Okay. I won't accept I've been doing this for 3 going on 4 years now, and I've never accepted an assignment fee as an EMD deposit personally. It always goes to the title company myself. But I do know some bigger wholesalers who do that. And I'm not saying that they're wrong, but they have the buyers that they've worked with on 10 plus deals, and they're okay with that. You know? So with that being said, so you're doing the loans right now, you're brokering the loans. You know, how long of a term are these loans that you're lending out? And what's the max term that you can go on, say, some of the longer term loans? Okay.
So I'm going to speak amongst all my products. Okay. So answer questions go to general. So we have 6 month, 12 month, 18 month, and 24 months for fix and flips.
Okay.
And then for what I'm going to call permanent loans. So those are for one. And I also do 1 to 4 family. And I'm just now added also multifamilies and other things. So anyway, 1 to 4 family. And on those, your length of time. You need, I have 2-year, 5-year, 7-year, and 30-year.
Okay.
The rate difference between the 5, 7, and 30 is almost negligible. Like 0.25%, maybe 0.5% right now at the most. The 2-year is a completely different loan. It's literally a 2-year loan, and that's meaning that it's due in 2 years on a interest only or 30-year amortization. And the purpose for that one is to graduate to a short-term rental. So it gives you the time to stabilize it, get a short-term rental experience so that you can qualify for that permanent loan. I also want to tell you that my DSCR loans, you don't necessarily have to have a lease. You don't have to have them rented out. They can be vacant.
Okay. Awesome. So, with that being said, it's great to see that you're, it's great to see that you're doing this and you're being open and you're doing these classes and you're doing everything. Also as Dave Ruffin asked, are you mentoring at the moment?
Yeah, and absolutely.
Okay.
And
awesome.
I would say to tune into my in addition to the weekly class, every morning I have a meetup. That's basically a virtual real estate meetup for everyone, people like you, Randy, people that are fix and flippers, people that are just real estate investors, people who are just excited about it, never done one before, and also and we get together every morning, 8:30 to 9. I used to call it Coffee Talk. Now I call it Insider's Edge. But anyways, the same link that I use for my meetings on Wednesdays. And so everybody's welcome Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 9 Eastern Standard Time. I do that every day, Monday through Friday.
Awesome. So with you doing all of this, what's your big vision? What's your vision for the future? What do you see? What's your goals that you want to get? And specifically, how can our audience here who's listening, whether you're listening live, and I appreciate you listening live, or you're watching the replay, what can they do to help you reach those goals?
Well, one, I really want to grow the group and really add value. To it. So I'm really trying to concentrate on giving value, and I see that as an extension of my actual business. All right, so that working with people, getting their, creating this relationship that's more than just, I want your business, give me your loans. It's like I'm trying to give them consistent value. So I see this as very important to growing my company to set it apart from other companies. That other mortgage brokers, other lenders, we want to be someone that a trusted source and resource. And I intend to grow this as far as I can. So the next step is probably, I've already added a new branch or region in East Coast. It's called we call it East Coast Loans, Unstoppable Funding East Coast Loans. But my intention is at some point to begin franchising and having that all be part of the whole package. But what I do want to make sure is we continue to offer a very good quality product across all of our platforms. We're non-commercial. I want to take this to the commercial side because I feel like that's also another area that's kind of like the wild, wild west, and just make it accessible for everybody.
There's a lot of people that would love to do something like that with some multifamily, especially here in Detroit. So kind of go from there. That'd be awesome. Now, what markets are you currently in, or can you go in any market?
All right. So, what separates us is that we are not. So I'm not. I shouldn't say I'm not, but some of my products I can't offer in all states. So there's. So for instance, I can't offer all my products in California. I can't offer them all in Nevada. I can't offer them all in New York. Okay. I do have some products, but I don't have the full range. And what that has to do is different state laws and licensing requirements and what they consider to be consumer loans. And so under the consumer loan jurisdiction, well, then they're going to impose some of the same rules that I talked about that would not allow it. So for instance, the biggest one is, 20 years ago, we could do hard money and you didn't. And so let's say you had a fixed income, $700 a month or something, but you had $200,000 of equity. and you wanted 100,000 a loan, you'd say, well, if I don't pay you, you just take the house, right? The
Right.
judge decided that, well, that's predatory lending because you didn't make any attempt to make sure they could make the payment. So you obviously planned to take their house. Okay.
Right.
Make $1,000,000. For what we do, businesses though are not protected in that way. So that's why we're able to do a few things because of that. But not all states interpret it that way, but the majority do. So that's why we don't offer.
Now, do you care about how new the business is?
No, we don't.
So if they just made an LLC yesterday, you lend on it. Okay.
Yes.
Awesome.
We just can't loan to an individual. So they
Got it.
Because we have to have that separation. It used to be that we could do individuals with a specific business purpose, but some of the states, like Michigan, for instance, changed the law just a little bit, and you have to have an LLC now to do what I do.
Got it.
Or an incorporated. It doesn't have to be an LLC, but it has to be an entity.
Most definitely. Well, I will say this: I will be coming to you when I decide to start doing my first fix and flip. So,
Mission accomplished.
Yes, 100%. But with that being said, right now I'm just concentrating on wholesaling, getting as much of value, giving as much value, just like this on these podcasts, as much as we can through the Facebook group, through the through YouTube, as giving out as much free content as we can. I will be developing that coaching course as well. So stay tuned on that. And, honestly, in my recommend, like if he's offering free classes for, I'm sure he touches more than just financial, so,
Absolutely.
Check them out and see what they can do. And if you can learn something from everybody, honestly, that's awesome. So
yeah, we go through showing how to use legal news to find properties. We go through different places like land bank, tax sales, clearing title, quieting title. We cover a lot, and
that's awesome.
And we love to have people like yourself, Randy. Wholesalers are a very big part of the business because a lot of people just don't know how to find them very well or don't have the time. Wholesalers play a very important role in what I do, for sure.
Most definitely. And that's the key is I don't want to call it mentorship at the moment, but like it's essentially kind of is when I come across, the, anybody who's looking to JV on a deal, I look at that and go from there. So, Rana Myers from the Facebook group, what is the link? It is in the description.
I'm gonna
to his class. So
I'm gonna pull it up and post it just in case. Here, hang on 1 second. I'll get it for you.
Yeah, most definitely. And there should be a present button down there, if you want to present that on your side of the screen, down at the bottom by the settings.
Oh, okay.
You go to present and then share screen.
All right. But I want to paste the link. I put it over here in the chat. Is that how I do
Yep,
it?
you can put it in the chat, and then
put the link here. And if you want, Randy, I do have. If you'd like to see it, I do have. I don't know how long your classes go, but I do have a PowerPoint on one of my fix and flip programs. I have a few things. If you'd like me to share, I can. For sure.
Oh, most definitely. So, and let's see here.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and present if you want. I'll go ahead and share one or two of those real quick. I'll try to cut it down to like 5 or 10 minutes. I'll go fast. You're out of hour.
Yeah.
I don't know how long these go.
Yeah, most definitely. Go ahead and see what you can do, and
all right,
go from there.
All right.
All right.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen.
Okay. And I just posted the link in YouTube as well as the Facebook group. So go ahead and check that out. All right.
All right.
So, but it should also be in the description as well.
All right. So I'm just going to pop in here. So I did want to pull up a couple things to show people.
Yep.
Real quick here, guys. So there was a period of time before I did the walking when I was taking a bus 3 hours from Garden City to Troy. And so these are actual pictures of when it happened, because to kind of deal with what I was going through, had to keep good humor, and it was a really long trip. So I would take pictures along the way in the bus just to show you some of the history. So you see by the date, that's 2014. And then in 2016, I was doing the walking. And so I would take pictures this 7 years ago. And I would walk all the way from Madison Heights to Troy, and then from there to Birmingham. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and share the this here real quick. All right. So basically, this is just about what makes funding your flip easy with us. All right.
Yeah.
And first thing is there's buckets. There's different kinds of programs to meet all of our different strengths and obstacles. Okay. So this is just covering that premier bucket. I kept talking about bucket one. And the main qualifiers are these. Loan amount must be above 100,000, which means your ARV needs to be 140,000 or higher. So as repaired value needs to be 140,000 or higher for that program. Credit score must be 680 and above. And it is a soft pull. So they're not going to, with exceptions down to 660, by the way, but there's no inquiry. Okay. Will not show on your credit report. And that also requires an AUS underwrite. How does the program work? We qualify the project, not the borrower, as I stated. We concentrate on the project and the future value of your property when you finish the home. You're going to need to have an entity with an EIN number to apply. We use the best score of only one member in your entity. So you could have a 580 score, but if you have a friend that has a 720, we're going to qualify in that 720. All right. What else makes this so easy? There's no asset documentation. It means we don't ask for bank statements or other asset information or documentation on most of our programs. There's no income documentation or ratios. There's no tax returns, pay stubs, W-2s, or other. It doesn't matter what you owe. No as-is value is calculated. So this is really great for wholesalers, Randy, is that there is no as-is value, because as you might know, if you're buying a home that you're selling that is in a dilapidated state, the appraiser is going to have a really hard time with coming up with a value. There's a big obstacle in Detroit, okay? A lot of times, because they have homes all over the place. They're selling for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, and the banks don't know what to look at, or the lenders don't know what to look at. And so if you have to calculate as is value, a lot of times that can trip you up.
Right.
And then we fund assignments, and we also do double closes, okay? And we can also provide the transactional funding if you are doing a double close. Double closes can be important, like you're buying it from a bank property that doesn't allow assignments, and you're trying to wholesale it. Project needs, you're going to need to provide the estimated property value and what it's going to be worth when it's done. You provide a scope of work. I don't need bids and estimates from contractors and so forth. We're going to take your numbers. You're going to put them on a scope of work, real simple. Tell us what you expect that it's going to cost you. Purchase agreements and any assignments that you might have, and take pictures.
Real quick. So the CEO says it's like asset-based lending for commercial and DSCR for residential. Awesome. So is that right?
Yeah. So can you say that one more time? I want to make sure I heard what you said correctly.
Yeah. So he said it's like asset-based lending for commercial and DSCR for residential. Is that right?
That is correct, except for on fix and flips, there's not even the DSCR part. There's no related, nothing, zero, nothing. There's no ratio whatsoever.
Okay. So yeah, so the CEO, I really wish I knew your real name, the CEO, because you come in here and you provide lots of questions and comments, and I love it when you come in here. So yes, it is asset-based lending. The good thing is DSCR, you need to show the rental income. Here you don't. So at least that's what I'm getting from him.
Correct.
So,
that's absolutely correct.
okay.
That's different. DSCR means just so you know, DSCR means debt service coverage ratio.
Mhm.
And so what that means is the relationship between your monthly payment and your rent. This doesn't use that to qualify. So you
Got
could,
it.
and you don't have to do a fix and flip with this program. Here's a big shocker. You can buy it just to acquire. You can use it just to acquire property. But remember, the longest period of time for this kind of loan is 2 years.
Awesome. So Ed, he said his name's Pat from Connecticut. Awesome, man. Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Pat. And so then I do explain some of this would be a little bit longer to explain, and I do have a worksheet that will be part of the class. But I just wanted to share that with you. And I'm going to stop
no problem.
there, and turn it back over to you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm really glad you were able to share that at least. And anybody who wants to see his class, by all means, we did post the link in the chat, but it's also it should also be in the description as well. So check it out. Go from there, and I'm happy to have John on here. We've gone a little bit over on time, but that's great because I mainly do it to respect the guest times, and he wanted to go perfectly fine with me. So if you have any questions for him, put them in the chat, and we can go from there. We also have in the description Unstoppable Funding. Okay. And we can kind of go from there. So the CEO, Pat, now I know his name. Thank you guys. I'll dive deep. Hope to acquire a loan from an East Coast Loans Unstoppable Funding. Awesome, man.
Yeah, the leader of that group over there is Alfonso Tillman, and he started out as a mortgage broker that would broker deals to us. So a lot of mortgage brokers actually are my clients, and they will send their clients over to me. You might know like Sean Craig, for instance. You might know him. He does quite a bit with us. But Alfonso started out like that, and he said, "Hey, I think I just want to join you guys now." So he ended up doing that. So,
well, that's awesome. So, again, his group is also Unstoppable Funding University on Facebook. So check that out. And I'm happy to have you on. And you know what? Maybe we go through some stories later on, and we'll get you on again on maybe some horror stories so we can learn and kind of go from there. So
I've got to do those too. I mean, it's not all easy money. I mean, you're gonna expect to have some setbacks when you do this. So go into it, know that you're after the mission at the end and what you really want to achieve for yourself in your life. And you can't evaluate it by one project. It's repeated effort, being consistent, doing it over and over again, day by day.
When I was in my 20s, I always wanted that quick reaction. I wanted everything to be done right now. And now that, I just turned 40 not too long ago, it's been 6 months now. So, but, I turned 40. I'm like, the thing is that it's consistency. If you consistently do something, you're going to get more out of it versus, I'm just going to I'll give you an example, hitting the gym. You're not going to go anywhere by hitting the gym for 1 week. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. Okay. You may lose a pound or two, but maybe. Okay. But you're not going to get any significant work done until you're consistently working out the same. It doesn't have to be 5-7 days a week. It could be 3 days a week, 2 days a week. Does not matter. You will, if you consistently do something, you will gain so much out of it by that. And that's the same thing with real estate. That's the same thing with wholesaling. When I get a no from a seller, I'm excited because it's just one more no to a yes. So I'm going to end the episode on that. with that being said, I'm going to just bring you down. We're going to talk after in a moment. All right.
Okay. You got it.
So I wanted to say for everyone here, thank you. I really appreciate you coming out. And I really appreciate you watching us live, giving your feedback and things like that. If you want more from John, by all means, put him in the comments, hit him up, and go from there. Let's all do deals together.
There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room.